Alright, hello everyone on YouTube. My name is Kevin Markham. Today I thought I'd make a video talking exclusively about my Colt Walkers. Picked these up not that long ago, honestly. Let's talk about this one first, I suppose. I removed the bluing off this gun and just applied a rust patina finish. And just stripped the bluing, soaked the barrel, just took the barrel off, and took the loading lever off because there's no reason to get that. The screws, took all those screws out, just filled in the barrel from both ends with some wax. Filled in the screw holes with wax, and just with the cylinder. I didn't put any, I filled in the chamber mouths with wax, but I left the nipples the way they are. I also didn't, I didn't soak this one in any rust removing solution. I just kind of applied it with a Q-tip on the sides of it, and of course I took off the back strap into that, but most of that actually is not on there anymore. It had a nice gray sort of patina on it, but it's sort of worn off a little bit. And yes, for those of you wondering, I did actually apply some, it's called Casey Birchwood's brass blackener, something like that, brass black. And I only did that on this one, and it's just something to add a little bit more character on it. It'll, you know, at first, when I first did it, it was all over. It was all over it. It's sort of worn away now. So, and it'll continue to wear away with moisture and the sweat from my hand as it transfers onto the brass. And it'll just kind of leave it a little bit blemished. Just give it a nice little worn look. I know a lot of people like the look of polished brass on their guns, but I'm not a big fan of it. It doesn't matter much to me. But and all I did with the metal parts is I just left them on the windowsill in my shower, and I just did a couple showers, closed the bathroom door to seal in all the air and moisture and stuff, and they just developed a nice little patina on them. I know some people see this as desirable. They'll do it on the cylinder, especially because a lot of surviving walkers are left unfinished. They'll be blued like this one, only the cylinder itself will be left in the white. That's because Colt didn't finish some of them. He sold them in an unfinished state. So, but I honestly just prefer to customize my guns. Initially, I planned to brown this one. Casey Birchwood's plum brown. It's a sort of a finish only reserved for muzzle-loading rifles. I applied it to this, and the key to getting a good finish with the gun, if you're using bluing or browning, is to thoroughly remove the finish and degrease it. And I was kind of in a hurry, and I wasn't very diligent. So when I took off the rust, I took off only in parts, just here and there. There's a lot of black a lot of bluing that was left over. And the browning did not sit very well. It did not look very good. There were some areas where there was brown and bluing, and it did not look good at all. I honestly didn't give it much time to sit. Usually when I first do it, it'll look pretty bad for a few days, and then afterwards, even up to a week, after a week, it'll pretty much really come into its own. But I decided that's not what I wanted to do, so I soaked the gun in vinegar and then applied this rust patina. And areas that had browning, and it's got some scratches on it already, areas that had browning on them did not accept rust very well. But as you can see, there is rust on there. And it's really just surface rust. It's really just cosmetic. And you got the color case hardening on the loading lever, as well as the frame. So honestly, yeah, it's just cosmetic that I did that. I just prefer it. The pull on this hammer, the action is very smooth. When I bought this down the street, it's funny, they called it a Dragoon. I looked at this and I'm like, this is not a Dragoon. This, number one, it doesn't have a latch for the loading lever. It's just held in place by a T-spring. This one is actually remarkably strong. I think someone actually did some work to it because the spring is really good. This one right here, the black one, the blue one, is not. The spring is terrible on that one. Haven't had actually a chance to fire that one yet, the one that's all blue. But I suspect the loading lever is going to drop a lot. That's why I just have this that leather cord right here. I intend to just wrap that around the barrel if that starts to be a problem. But they called it a Dragoon, and it even says 1847, and I don't think the Dragoons began production until 1848. Of course, that's just there for the same reason that this stamping is on the cylinder. This United States mounted rifles. Where does it say that? I'm going to do this with one hand. United States mounted rifles. There it is. And this is a scene. I had to explain this to a friend of mine who's a native, and sort of blushed a little bit that this is the Army Rangers fighting the Comanches. A group of Texas Rangers had Colt Pattersons, and they used their rifles. The Comanches charged them thinking that they only had single-shot pistols left, but they pulled out their Colt Pattersons, and yeah, ever since that, the Texas Rangers used Colts. And of course, the Texas Ranger Samuel Walker approached Colt to make these guns. It came with a cartridge conversion cylinder. I just fired some wax bullets through this not that long ago. I haven't cleaned it yet. I'm going to take it out shooting tomorrow, so I'm not going to clean it today. But yeah, it came with this cylinder. Howell's Old West cartridge conversion, R&D, Tails & Company. As far as I know, from what I've heard, it's all the same thing. This one is, it's got all 6 cylinders in there, all 6 chambers, I mean. And from what I hear about that is they pulled something a little bit creative with that. The chambers are like tilted diagonally or something. They're not, they managed to do something with that because the chambers would just be too large to accommodate all 6. That's why some cartridge conversions you might see only have 5, and then they have a safety position, a safety thing. But anyway, I bought both of these together at the gun store for $400, and that is a pretty good price if you ask me. These Colt Walkers will sell for $400 brand new. Theyll sell for sometimes $420. $500. Charcoal blue ones would cost you $600, but for a Walker with a cartridge conversion, and these conversions can run anywhere. I think these Howell type conversions usually run about between $200 and $300. The Curse converters are a little more expensive, I think, at like $350, something like that. But I consider it to be a pretty good deal. And what I did here with the grips, they had a very high gloss on them, and they were very smooth. I just took 100 grit, 150 grit sandpaper and roughed them up a little bit so I could feel the texture of the wood more, and just applied a boiled linseed oil and some wax, and really rubbed that wax in there into the pores, and it feels very nice. It has a very positive feel to it. I just took a Dremel tool with the saw attachment and just sort of accentuated that rear sight. I could take a file to that later when I'm shooting it and file it down to what I need it to be, but I just had to break the color case hardening with a tool. This right here, and before I go any further, I wanted to mention, it says CVA here on the back. It says it says ASM on the barrel. Let's see if I can catch it. ASM, Armi San Marco. And CVA stands for Connecticut Valley Arms. I don't know why it says CVA and ASM. The only thing I can think of is that CVA licensed this, or maybe imported it, or something like that. CVA is not really in the business nowadays of selling these type of guns. They sell a lot of inline muzzle loaders for hunting, but as far as handguns go, I don't know. The fit and finish of this is really nice. Cylinder spins very nicely. The hammer pull is very nice. Trigger pull is really crisp. Everything is just flawless on this, honestly. This one, on the other hand, is not quite as ideal. It says S. Marco right there on the edge of the frame. So I'm guessing this is also Armi San Marco, but it is very sparse on other markings. You see, it does not say 44 caliber black powder only on the barrel. It doesn't say it underneath the loading lever either. which is very weird. It does have Italian proof marks. It does have import marks, but it is a bit weird. The main difference that I have seen on these is the wedge. The wedge is huge on this one compared to this one. This one's very thin. This one is huge. Look at how beefy that is. The only thing I noticed is that the spring that actually holds it in, this one, I think it's just got some gunk in there. It does not want to spring forward. The other one, the spring actually works. The spring is applying pressure, and it is holding that pin in. However, what this one does is, you see, the screw is actually flat on one surface, and so all you gotta do is just unscrew that about less than half a turn, take the wedge out. I don't take the wedge out on this one, I don't take the screw out on this one. Honestly, the screw just kind of holds it in there a little. It does have a brass shim in there. You can't see that. It does have a brass shim to protect the metal from the screw, from just over tightening it down. But I just take, a screwdriver, or sometimes I use my powder flask, and I just drive out that wedge. It comes out no problem. This one, because of that screw in the way it's designed, I go ahead and I take advantage of that, and I loosen it about half a turn and take the wedge out. This one, though, the construction is not as good. The hammer pull is extremely hard. The action is, the opposite of smooth. It is very rough. It is just, it's really sticky. When you turn it, you can hear these really deep clicks. This one, it's very light. This one, very deep clicks. I took it apart. The mainspring is different, definitely. I can't tell what it is. It's just shaped differently. Don't know why exactly. The hand is also shaped differently. It's bent, sort of curved off to the right. Don't know why. Don't know if that's intentional or not. The hand spring in other guns that I've had is not bent like that. So it's a very tough pull. It says S Marco. Another thing too about this trigger. Trigger's very weird. You'll see on this one, it's I can put my whole finger behind that. On this one here, there is no gap between the trigger and the back of the trigger guard. I don't know why that's so different. The trigger, even when it's fully cocked, it sits forward even more. Look at that. It sits forward even more. And that trigger pull is not smooth either. Fit and finish on this one, I noticed this right here is pretty rough and sharp. And I like to hold my gun, like this. This is a very natural pose. And this is just annoying right there. The other gun, I like it much more. It's very smooth. The blade on this one, also very pronounced and sharp. And on this one, it is very curved and subtle. Left this one with the bluing on there. The color case hardening is more pronounced, I would say. Colors are a lot more bright. Again, that loading lever, the spring is very worn out there. I imagine I will have to tie a piece of leather to that. And the grips, honestly, the grips are the reason I bought this gun. The grips just made it look very unique. And what I did with this one, again, it had gloss on it, very smooth. I just took 150 grit sandpaper, roughed it up, and I did not apply any wax or any linseed oil on this one. I just left it like that. It has a very good feel to me. It's actually a little more pointable than the other one. That hammer pull is just egregious, though. The gun is not smooth at all. But I thought I would talk about this one. I bought this one on Gunbroker. And when I bought it, it had lots of sand and gunk in it. I lubricate my guns with a bolt lube. I'll go ahead and show you. I have a... There it is. There's what's in there. Beeswax, paraffin wax, Crisco's, lamb's tallow, mink oil. Anything I can get my hands on. And I lube up all my moving parts. Keeps the powder fouling soft on the guns, so all you have to do is just wipe it off. But I don't think the person who lubed up this gun and shot it cleaned off that stuff, because there was a lot of gunk in here. Of just it basically felt like it just looked like lubricant, covered in black powder fouling. So that was everywhere. Had to clean all that up. And even after I cleaned it up, I thought the action would improve, and the action did not improve. But I thought I'd talk about it. I bought on Gunbroker. You know, on Gunbroker, on the bidding, they'll have bidding and then a buy now option. Well, the bidding was about $278 on this. Only one other person bidding on it. The buy now price was $350. And I just went, you know what? That's a damn good price. Bought this gun, shipping and handling $370. Now, what I did not know about this was that the guy actually gave me this powder flask with it. This is a Colt Walker style powder flask, and to be honest with you, I have no idea how it works. This right here is loose. This would hold the balls, the round balls. I honestly, after tinkering with this for a while, I do not know how this is supposed to dispense powder in, 30, 40, 50 grain charges. I don't know how it works. I have not actually found any videos about how it works. I just picked this up not that long ago, actually this past weekend at a thrift store, antique store. It is not an original, if they're to be believed. It is a repro. I bought it for $8. The spring is broken on this, but you can buy replacements for those. And then this one is my favorite. Just a regular Colt style. I think this is like a 28 grain or 25 grain spout on there. And on Gunbroker it also came with this, which is a bullet mold. Now, it had a lot of rust on it when I got it. I just soaked it in some vinegar, and it's very stiff. Like, very, very stiff. I can't even get it open with one hand. But it's very stiff, and it is for conicals. This will create the conical bullets. I forget what they're called. The Colt Walker was designed to take them. They're very shallow conical bullets. And it also came with this Walker nipple wrench, which is very handy. Did not actually work on this gun. Told you the mainspring was a bit weird on it. And this did not actually hold anything in place in any angle. It's just this mainspring in this one is just weird. Anyway, those are my Colt Walkers. Honestly, you can probably tell which one is my favorite. This one here. Go ahead and let me know in the comments below which one you think is better, which one you like more. I honestly think that I could sell this one. I could see myself selling this one. With the powder flask and the bullet mold and the nipple wrench, I think I've definitely got a good value for this. I could sell this thing and make a profit off of it and buy another gun. So anyway, leave a like or a comment.